Thank you very much for staying with us for the news review. You know this segment is always brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here's what they're offering you, in case you've never heard us blow this trumpet. If you're a man, they're offering you prostate screening for free, especially if you've hit 35 to 40. Some people will tell you 40 onwards. I'll tell you that some people are developing prostate issues even before that age. So look, it's up to you, but once you hit 40 or maybe anything close, start checking your prostate. If you're a woman, what's your fertility status? Do you know? Do you know what's happening in that area of your body and whether you are fertile enough to produce, have children? Well, if you have those gnawing questions, I would recommend that you make your way to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic because they are offering you screening services for free, gratis. Here's where you can locate them. Here in the crowd, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama in Zima. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Joining me in the studio now for the news review this morning, we have former president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Afeo Money. Mr. Money.
It's great to be here.
It's good to have you.
Yeah.
It's good to have you. You come with a lot of intellectual money.
Thank you so much for the compliment.
Great. I have a bit of a concern, though. Sometimes I like sharing these things passionately on air. I just came from my newsroom where one of our editors, together with others, were talking about Ghana and our prospects and everything. And something like Ghc48 and are sending over 600 plus delegates. On Friday, I'll have time. I'll have time for some of those.
Last year it was over 300, yeah.
It's not the first time we've done something like this. You ask yourself, with what is happening here and all these numbers, how do they translate into anything? We keep sending these huge numbers on the back of the taxpayers' money. And
but we are told that not all of them were.
Not all of them,
yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
But a lot of them.
A lot of them, yeah.
A lot of them. On taxpayers' money. And you look at the state of our environment. Yesterday we had the Joy News National Dialogue.
Fantastic
at the
program.
Labadi Beach.
Fantastic
Hotel.
program.
At a point, listening to some of the responses coming from certain quarters, I'll single out people later, not today. I became worried. I went to Erastus Asaridonko, the Journalist of the Year, and we had an interaction. And I will not reveal the interaction we had, but I want to ask you this morning. Ghana, this ship that is sailing called Ghana, do you think we can make it? Do you think we will make it? And I'm asking that question on the back of a lot of what I hear from young people everywhere. Is it even worth it? I hear people now saying things like, you know what, I want to do my best. I don't even want to give birth to my children in Ghana. I don't know whether you've ever heard that.
Sure.
Young people saying
Sure.
they don't even want to give birth. They want to go and give birth elsewhere, to give their children some sort of upper hand because they believe giving birth to their children here. But we see it, even our leaders themselves. They get pregnant and they fly to the US, and to give birth and give their children citizenship of...
Sure.
What does that tell us? So do you honestly think we can make it or we will make it? Because I am saying prayers alone will not solve our problems. God will not do for you what you can do for yourself. What do you think?
So let me premise my response with a statement made by a prominent Ghanaian. Intellectually solid, he's seen it all, he's contributed his bit as a professor at the University of Ghana. And he once said to me, I've lost interest in Ghana. I said, Prof, why do you make this statement? And he narrated a number of factors which underpin his statement. And I've been reflecting on this since then, that why should this man of prominence, a man of intellectual solidity, make this statement? Someone who has contributed a lot to this country. But I would say that we should continue to serve the wave of optimism with the hope that God, and continue praying because Ours is not a basket case, even though we have missed a lot of opportunities. We have flapped a lot of opportunities, given the resources we have, natural and all that. But I will continue to pray, continue to hope that we'll turn the corner around realistically and not rhetorically. And let's continue to pray, let's continue to do our bit. If collectively we all decide that we should pull in one direction, we should put behind us the failures of the past and do what is right as citizens, I believe we can really turn the corner and then put this nation on a pedestal of growth and stability and development in all dimensions.
Can we do it with the crop of leaders we keep getting? And it's a cycle. Let me even restrict myself to the Fourth Republic. The cycle of leadership points in the direction of going practically nowhere. Because yes, you may say, oh, yes, we've done a little bit when it comes to security. We've put up some hospitals. We've done this and that. But at what pace? In development, there's the capacity to go one step forward, 2 or 3 steps backwards. A typical example, road construction. Are you aware, and you fully will be, that there are roads that have been under construction since around 1992 or 1993? And every time, roads should have a certain longevity because of corruption, because of kickbacks, because of so many things, because of judgment debts, because of contracts being stalled, because one administration has rolled over into another. Nothing is seamless in this country. Nothing. At some point, especially when you go out there and you see things, and I always say that sometimes I don't want to cite the UK, US, and all of that because those examples are a bit highfalutin, if you like. Look at Cuba. And what they've been through. And I felt so bad. I felt so embarrassed when I was in Cuba because with the little resources they have and what they've done versus what my country has and what we are doing, it makes you so ashamed. You ask yourself, are we thinking in this country? I'm sorry. Are we?
It's a legitimate question. So this should serve as a wake-up call for a lot of us to right what is wrong and scale up our effort to build this nation. Because no one can build this nation for us unless we realize the situation in which we find ourselves. And the development takes place when you question your circumstances. So we should continuously question our circumstances and then think outside the box and then be honest in whatever we do. I believe those will serve as a fillip to scale up national development.
It's been a while since I heard that word, Philip, and trust I feel money to bring it up. But saying what I do also reminds me of that saying right before we get into the papers. I think it's an Arab proverb. They say, when people say, oh, let's pray. I'm a staunch Catholic, staunch Christian, and I believe in prayer for leaders and everything. We do that every week in church. Doesn't look like our leaders are responding to the spiritual treatment we are giving them. It doesn't.
We should push them to respond. We should push them.
But the saying is that trust in God, but tie your camel. So you have the trust that God will take care of. But you still do the diligent thing by tying your camel. So that it's not that, I can leave it anyhow, or I can leave my door open and no one will come and steal because God is watching. Anyway, it is what it is. We'll try and see whether we can get some of the online portals to get something from. But Economy Times, the final newspaper, are what I have. What do you have this morning?
Daily Guide, we have a cluster of stories on the front page.
Let's take a look at them.
Galamsey Queen Aisha Huang jailed 4.5 years and fined 48,000 cedis. And we also have witchcraft wildlife bills, violates constitution, and this comes from His Excellency the President. OSP has declared 6 persons wanted for allegedly,
took some
fat envelopes.
Yes, they spoke to us, all of them.
Oh, interesting.
Interacted with us. I clearly remember. I think it's the one in Seche Dumasi who was like, no cash, no votes.
But
how did we get here? It's demand and supply, right? Or maybe in reverse, supply and demand. Because there are times too in economics where a typical example would be the iPod. Before that, all of us were using Walkman, cassettes, and then
and all that.
it graduated to the CD player. All of a sudden, someone saw a niche market in there. And then when the iPod came, you probably didn't know you had that need, but all of a sudden people realized, oh, that is a need, or that is a great want for me. Small device, I can put a lot of music on there, shuffle, and all of that. And it's more accommodating, I can carry it on. So sometimes supply rather drives demand, though usually it is demand that drives supply. But with the way we've monetized our politics, and with what Afrobarometer and is it the many global institutions have said about what it takes to be an MP, how much you would spend, to be a president, how much you would spend, and all of that. Sometimes you even put it side by side with Nigeria, what they need, looking at their numbers, and then you look at our numbers and what we are doing. It means we are far ahead of them. We outstrip them.
Crazy.
And we expect these people not to be corrupt.
And we've reached a stage where the evils of monocracy have decimated the values of democracy. And if you don't take care, monocracy will take over democracy. We are almost there. We are at the precipice. So as a nation, we need to pull ourselves back from this precipice and practice democracy in the rare sense. Now we reach a stage where meritocracy does not matter, does not even pay. Your ability to pay. And we've allowed cash to play an oversized role in choosing our leaders.
In politics, in Ghana, cash is king.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's king, but there should be a limit of the kingship of cash. And we have exceeded that limit. Then the conversation about the state funding political parties, and to me it's a no-no because we have so many priorities to look at and we are not even looking at some of them. And it also creates avenues for looting and sharing the scarce natural resources. So this is an area we should not go at all. We should not go there at all. But what do we do? OSP has stepped in to invite, to declare the 6 people wanted. And I'm inclined to ask this question, that what happened to, where was OSP when the Asino by-election took place? Where money was flowing like a river. OSP, and someone told me that he was an Asino, a police officer, he dressed casually. And people were just giving him money, just take, 300, 200, just take. They didn't know his background. He was a former police commissioner. And we all saw what happened at North. Nothing, nobody has been arrested, nobody has been invited. We also saw an MP, an aspiring MP.
In this instance, there have been invitations.
But this is just a tip of the iceberg.
And I've heard some people even say that, oh, he's going for low-hanging fruit. Is that how low he's going now? And I look at such people and I wonder whether they appreciate the gravity of the problem we face. Because in bribery and corruption, both the one giving and the one receiving are complicit.
Yeah, sure.
So if you think, oh, it's just the 2 people with their names on there, Jefferson Saki and is it Colin something, and the other person whose name was not on the envelope. Look, they set up 3 tents. Each of the 3 major candidates even had tents where people were going to eat. That is a form of inducement.
Sure.
It is. I mean, why? Don't the people have food at home? Is it this that will give them the food that they will eat, that will satisfy them for the rest of the year? We know of these things. We're intentionally turning a blind eye to them, acting like, you know,
playing the ostrich.
And that is what I really don't like about. And sometimes I feel that is what people don't like about people like me. Because if I see it and I know it is wrong, I'll not sugarcoat it and tell you that, oh, it is something else apart from black. You know? But Ghanaians don't like that. They like you to circumvent the issue. They like you to sugarcoat and pretend. I'm not a pretender. I will tell it to you in your face. That's why I always say that I don't keep politicians as friends. NDC, MPP, and I can say it because I don't keep them as friends.
We can't do without them.
I don't take anything from you. So really, like, that's the point. But
Samson did a commentary on media and corruption, and it says, any journalist who decides voluntarily to be in the pockets of a politician is an apology of a journalist, and he or she is doing a great disservice to this nation. And I believe that commentary should be publicized for the media community, because by virtue of what you do, we occupy a special place in society to hold to account people in positions of power and authority. We exercise oversight responsibility over all sectors of society, over the three arms of a tripartite government. So we should be above reproach. For if, as the saying goes, if gold rusts, what will iron do? So this is a piece of advice to my colleagues in the media.
Let's get some other stories.
And so
it would be interesting, the story on witchcraft, the witchcraft bill, and why the president says he's not going to give his assent to that. You remember when it came up, many people celebrated that finally this whole bit about, oh, you're a witch. I mean, in a court of law, how do you prove that someone is a witch? And many people, over the last few years, I remember this old woman who was flogged in a circle. She was killed. We've had all of those stories.
There are lots of tragic circumstances. Tragic, more than tragic circumstances.
Witches. How they can prove it, only God knows.
So the story is saying that President Nana Akufo-Addo has told Parliament that due to constitutional violations, he is unable to assent the Criminal Offences Amendment Number 2 bill, which criminalizes accusations of witchcraft and witch-finder practices, and the Wildlife Resources Management Bill. According to him, his review of the two bills indicates that the legislations were passed by Parliament without going through the established constitutional and legislative processes. The concerns raised are significant and have profound implications for the constitutional integrity of these legislative actions, the President said in the two separate letters to Parliament. I think that we need to fine-tune these pieces of legislation. And the Bible said this is something we need to address. The accusations people level against the aged, and we in certain parts of the country we equate old age with witchcraft, and this is highly unfortunate. And sometimes it is rooted in antiquity. This is,
and it's also financial.
Yeah.
How many people who are of some status in society, who are wealthy, would you see people daring to go and call them witches?
Sure.
But once you are poor,
yes,
you are old, you will likely be called a witch or wizard.
And dementia setting or something.
Yes. So you mentioned it, dementia. As people age, depending on their own experience, nutrition and otherwise, they may start to go senile and may say certain things. People take a lot of that to mean, oh, they said something funny. This one is a witch. This one is a wizard. And we are victimizing people. We are the only country in the world that has had witch camps. I mean, from the time of the Salem witch hunt, I haven't known of. And we are the only country in the world. Go to, is it Batinga? Go to, there are Kukuo. There are so many of these places across the country. Witch camps, where people literally have to flee and get to. It's not the best of situations, but I've also said that sometimes it is between that bad situation or getting killed.
The lion-like savagery with which the so-called witches are killed, stoned to death with blood oozing from parts of the body, and nobody.
That
is the height of insensitivity.
I have my own sentiments about about this, but let's see whether it can be fine-tuned. Because in the end, I think it's something that must pass. It's something that must go to stop some of the lunacy in the system, where people take the law into their own hands and sow the seed of barbarism, all in the name of this. And like I mentioned, in which court of law can you prove? These are spiritual matters. Yeah. I'm not saying that witches and wizards don't exist. That's not what I'm saying.
They do exist.
The Bible, it is there. But I am saying a lot of the time in our setting, like you said, you are poor. There are characteristics. You are poor. Maybe you are dependent on the young ones and already, they are not getting work. Oh, you are old. Yeah. And sometimes to some of our pastors are the problem. Oh, your mom.
Pastors of questionable credentials. Questionable credentials.
They are part of the problem.
Jesus never did that. Jesus never did that. So his followers should watch and toe his line. As simple as that.
Anyway, and sometimes too it is, and let me add, some of the imams and other, I mean, all of them are in there. Witch doctor, I mean, you go to some places and supposedly there are people who can fish out witches and all of that. All of those people are part of it. Oh, so this person doesn't have a good spirit.
So then the bill should be fine-tuned, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so we will produce the right law to deal surgically with such offenders.
There's a message. Michael Batigma says, good morning, Ben. Talking about roads and their duration. Come to Yendi, Tatali, under construction and deteriorating. What I was talking about in our country. You can have roads that are passed on from one administration to another administration to another administration. Same situation, one road. And sometimes it is intentional because another one comes. And you know that cycle in our country where this administration comes and they let go of everything in this area because there's going to be a new contracts, new people, party people.
Meanwhile, the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, emphasizes the need for continuity by outgoing and succeeding government.
That's why I asked.
That is the principles of state policy.
Whether we can go anywhere in this country because the cycle just continues. I'm sure if we could quantify how much we had lost.
So it's up to your generation to break that cycle.
Well, let's see. It's also up to the other generation to do better, and they will not even want to hand over. We are becoming, in Parliament, if you look at the tenure, at least now it's better. But you also look at maybe Congress in the US, and you see, is it the Senate? Both of them. Some of them are there for a lifetime.
Yes.
It's recently that we are seeing
80s, 90s, and all that, yeah.
Anyway, is there any other story I wrap with? We have about 2 minutes left.
Agri-sector turnaround strategy will work, and the paper is quoting the Agri Minister, Brian Champon. He said, the turnaround strategy being adopted in agriculture will result in the transformation of the sector. I believe this is not the usual rhetoric, and people are questioning the impact or the success rates of the planting for food and jobs. The second phase.
Has it been successful for you?
This question was put to the Agricultural Workers Union boss, and he says we should look at what is happening in the market, the availability of food and its prices, and that should tell us, and that should give an answer to the success or otherwise of the planting for food and jobs. I'm inclined to side with him because if Ghanaians have plenty to eat, and how would they complain? And they said that any economy in which the average citizen spends more, or worker spends more than 10% of his income on food, then that economy is.
And we have the highest food inflation in Africa.
So
currently.
Sure.
Highest food inflation in Africa. I think it's over 40% or something.
Incredible.
Yeah. That is where we are. I mean,
so the second phase of the planting for food and jobs should rectify the anomalies of the first phase, and so that we will all have cause to celebrate and pat Honorable Brana Champon on the back for having done the impossible.
I don't know about you, but for those who lived through that era, Dr. Abudu especially, among others, Operation Feed Yourself.
Feed Yourself, yes.
I mean, when they tell you about what Ignatius Kutu Echampo
did, yeah.
bar the fact that he was a military leader, achieved with that, together with the real people behind it, the likes of Dr. A.O. Abudu, okay?
And Benasco, then a Greek
the
commissioner.
people who effected those things, and how plentiful food.
Plentiful, you could see.
You could see it. You see, that's
Yes.
the thing. Don't come and tell me, oh, your life is good. Let me know. If I know it, you don't need to come and tell me.
Don't need a superfluity of evidence.
You don't come and tell me, I have done this and we have done this. Where are the results?
Exactly.
Where are they? The Finder newspaper, Ghana signs $50 million emission reduction payment agreement. Pictured there, our Lands and Natural Resources Minister. We are very good at these things, photo ops and all of that. Recently, the former Chief Justice, Sufaya Kufu, mentioned that our lithium agreements are Gaggisberg agreements. And I agree with her. You're still getting 10% and all of that, and you are running helter-skelter. You are happy. Go to other countries. You know, look at what is happening in South Africa, Namibia, Kenya, Rwanda, and the rest, and you are happy with chicken change, and that's something to celebrate. I don't get it. Galamsey Queen Aisha Huang, jailed 4 years, 6 months. You brought up that story. You've also brought up the Brian Echampong story. Orphan constituencies. President commends NPP for successful parliamentary primaries. And let me just wrap with the Economy Times. Bank of Ghana prepares to recapitalize, and IPPs, the independent power producers, kick against tariff reduction, that is in electricity. They say it threatens DDEP efforts. We have over $2 billion that we have to deal with on their front in the short to medium term. And already nowadays, you can just be there, power outages are becoming rampant. But let's see how things go. Any final words?
We should continue to pray for Ghana. This is the only country we have. And ours is not a basket case, even though we have a lot of challenges, but these challenges are not...
they are surmountable, eh?
They are not insuperable. So we continue to pray.
Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Afil-Moni, for always doing us the honors and coming here.
It's a huge pleasure.
This morning, you've reminded me of 2 words I have not seen or used in a long time. Philip and insuperable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right before we get into sports, this came through yesterday. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it. So this message coming through, let me just read it. To my adorable Eresi, may you be very great. May you excel in everything you do. 7 years ago, you brought too much joy to your mom and me. As the Lord has blessed you with another year, it is our prayer that He will always favor you and guide you through this journey of life. In everything, know that your family loves you. Be blessed, my adorable Ahanta princess. A blessed 7th, my super girl. I owe you one this weekend. And that is from Samuel Kojo Brace. He flies high the flag of the Ahanta community. To you, his beautiful daughter, Eresi, belated happy birthday to you. And that's the note on which we cap off the news review this morning. But this review is always brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. If you're a man, about 40 especially, here's what they're offering you. Prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. Here in Accra, at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Kronoma Boy here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama and Zema. Their call lines are you ready? 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. When you pray, say a word of prayer for Ghana and its leaders. Up next, sports.